Hey guys, enter the stars in another amazing revelation by the Holy Spirit this morning. And I actually got an email from someone telling me about pools, researching pools. And when I began to look at the word pool, I realized that pool is loop, backwards. And I said, well, what could a loop mean? And then I thought to myself, it's a time loop. And then I thought to myself, well, how does that fit in? So I went straight to the Bible. And to my shock, there were many pools mentioned in the Bible. This one in particular, by Jesus Christ. Now this is fascinating because we are going to uncover the real meaning behind the pool. And I believe that this has everything to do with the pool of water in the vitreous humor of the eye, in the pool of water, in the amniotic fluid of the womb, and everything that we've been talking about. Now, the story begins. A man was healed at the pool of Bethesda. After this, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now, there is in Jerusalem by the sheep gate. Well, what is the gate? The sheep gate, there was a pool. You guys, the sheep gate is the hyaloid canal. And what is amazing is that we have a choice at that point to go back up through the hyaloid canal, the narrow gate, or come down through the wide gate, which is the cervix or the iris of the eye, down into the descent of hell. This is the wide and narrow gate. This is the speck in the beam. The speck being the remnant in the hyaloid canal narrow gate, and the beam fitting through the iris, the aperture being born into the sinful realm. It's also the cervix that opens and closes and allows you to enter this reality, this sinful reality. Do you see the synchronicities here? Do you see the analogy? Now this gets even more specific. The pool was called Bethesda in Hebrew, and it had 5 porches. Now what else has 5 porches? The lacrimal gland of your eyelid. This here, the lacrimal gland, also has 5 porches. Unite to form 3 to 5 main excretory ducts, joining 5 to 7 ducts in the polypal portion before the secreted fluid may enter onto the surface of the eye. So we are at the gate. The gate being here. And then there are 5 porches at the front of your eye down here, which is the lacrimal gland. Simply unbelievable, but it gets even more specific. It says, in these lay a great multitude of sick people inside these pools, blind, lame, paralyzed, waiting for the moving of the water. Now this is interesting because we are all in this sinful nature, all suffering, great multitudes of the sick, when we're born in this reality, right? It's like Russian dolls, one within the other, the child within the womb, but the child has eyes in its head, which is like the womb, and it's like Russian dolls nested into one another. They're waiting for the moving of the water. What is the moving of the water? The moving of the water is the circulation of the cerebral spinal fluid. Do you see the juxtaposition of the moving of the water or the breaking of the water? Jesus Christ trumping the breaking of the water, bearing you into sin and moving you into the cerebral spinal fluid waters. The salvation, when you look at the map of the body within to find the truth about him and his Father. It says, for an angel went down at a certain time into the pool and stirred up the water. Then whoever stepped in first after the stirring of the water, was made well of whatever disease he had. Now a certain man was there who had an infirmity 38 years. Well, guess what? A child is in the womb 38 weeks after conception. 38 weeks after conception. Jesus' conception date being 12/21, December 21st. 38 weeks later, he was born a man on 9/11. This goes on. When Jesus saw him lying there and knew that he had already been in the condition a long time, he said to him, "Do you want to be made well?" Now it's interesting the play on words. And Jesus is amazing because made well is also referring to the well, the woman at the well. Now what was the miracle of the woman at the well? Well, we know it well, don't we? Jesus came to get water. And Jesus said to the woman, "The waters that I have at the well that I have never run dry." And we've done videos on this and postulated that the well that never runs dry is the cerebrospinal fluid, which is almost pure water, but it never runs dry, replenishes itself, self-replenishing cerebrospinal fluid. So this is amazing because it goes even further, because he says, "Do you want to be made well?" The sick man answered him, "Sir, I have no man to put me into this pool when the water is stirred up. But while I am coming, another steps down before me." So he can never be well because you have to be the first one into the pool in order to be healed, according to this Bible passage. Jesus said to him, "Rise up, take up your bed and walk." And immediately the man was made well, took up his bed and walked. Now this is interesting too, because all of these analogies have to do with this child in the inner eye, in the womb. We've already talked about all the other analogies of the placenta surrounding the child being just like the retinal wall, and the cervix being like the iris of the wall, and the umbilical cord being like the hyaloid canal, and all of the other synchronicities of this womb, which is also the fruit of the womb, right? And we know that there's fruit-like structures in the inner wall of the eye. And now we have another synchronicity, because babies, when they're born, cannot walk. And this man picks up his bed and walks, just like a toddler learning to walk who has come out of the womb. This goes on. Then they asked him, "Who is the man who said to you, 'Take up your bed and walk'?" But the one who was healed did not know who it was, for Jesus had withdrawn, multitude being in that place. Afterward, Jesus found him in the temple and said to him, "See, you have been made well. Sin no more, lest a worse thing come upon you." So this man was basically delivered. He was delivered like a child, and then could walk. He was delivered into the infinite waters of the infinite well, into heaven, not born out into this sinful reality, but born back within through Christ. This is simply amazing. Through Christ, he came through the other waters. Remember, he entered through the gate, the 5 ducts of the lacrimal gland. He entered in through here. And now he was born into the sinless nature. Jesus said, "Sin no more, lest a worse thing come upon you." The man departed and told the Jews that it was Jesus who had made him well. Now the story goes on even further, because there are references to sight and vision, confirming this once and for all. For this season the Jews persecuted Jesus and sought to kill him because he had done these things on the Sabbath. But Jesus answered and said, "My Father has been working until now, and I have been working." Therefore the Jews sought all the more to kill him, because he not only broke the Sabbath, but also said that God was his Father, making himself equal with God. Then Jesus answered and said to them, Most assuredly I say to you, the Son could do nothing of himself, but what he sees the Father do. For whatever he does, the Son also does in like manner. For the Father loves the Son and shows him all things that he himself does. And he will show him greater works than these, that you may marvel. For as the Father raises the dead and gives life to them, even so the Son gives life to whom he will. For the Father judges no one, but has committed all judgment to the Son, that all should honor the Son, just as they honor the Father. He who does not honor the Son will not honor the Father who sent him. And now you continue to see the theme within themes. The theme within the theme, which is Jesus within his Father, and us within Jesus. The Russian dolls. It becomes so clear. And this goes further. Most assuredly I say to you, he who hears my word and believes him who sent me has everlasting life, and shall not come into judgment, but is passed from death into life. Most surely I say to you, the hour is coming, and now is, when the dead will hear the voice of the Son of God, and those who hear will live. He's giving us instructions on how to live. And it all goes back to this secret, being born into this sinful nature and finding salvation not from looking out, but from looking within through Christ. Take care and be safe, you guys.